Hey guys, so to preface this video, this is a re-upload, so if you were one of the 8,000 to 9,000 people who saw this when it was first up, then this is the same video, you are not going crazy. But if this is your first time watching, thanks for being here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And also go check out We The Free, because on that platform, all of our videos are uncensored, and we'll get into it.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
Zenith actually started out importing Turkish MP5 clones, but now they're making their own roller-delayed firearms right here in the US, and the ZF5 is part of that shift. What I've got here is the ZF5K, the more compact version with a 4.6-inch barrel compared to the OG MP5's 8.9-inch. It still uses that roller-delayed blowback system, so you get that same smooth recoil impulse everyone loves, and so you're not stuck waiting 2 years like you are with some other clones. Yeah, there's a company out there with a 24-month lead time. Zenith's lead time and pricing are way more reasonable in comparison. Handling this gun feels familiar if you've ever touched an MP5, but if you haven't, then it might take you a second to get used to it. And yes, you can do the HK slap. It's compact, especially the K version, which can feel a little tight in terms of grip space, but that's just part of the package. The build quality though, pretty solid. I will say that the safety selector is pretty spongy. It's plastic on plastic that feels like it is. I can even push past the safe a little bit, which is just something to note. The mags are also really hard to take out of the mag well if you do not have the right angle, and even when you do, it is still pretty gritty. However, I will say, I actually handled a few different MP5 clones at SHOT Show this year, and this felt like one of the better built options by a long ways. It doesn't quite match the HK perfection, but it is the closest clone I've felt so far. Now when it comes to features, this thing's got a threaded barrel and a tri-lug adapter, so mounting a suppressor should be easy. But I'll be honest, we had some issues. We ended up with a bulge in the end cap of the suppressor after running it on this gun, which we've never seen before using that same suppressor on other setups. Before I try to dissect what I think might have happened, I'm actually going to have my husband Tanner come in and explain it a little bit more since he has more experience than me when it comes to blowing up suppressors. If you're out on the range often, you know how important it is to keep a steady supply of ammo on hand and not rely on last-minute restocks or inconsistent availability. Well, that's where Ammo Squared comes in. They are America's ammunition reserve. You pick from over 70 different calibers, set your monthly budget, and let it build up over time. When you're ready, you ship it, simple as that. They store everything in climate-controlled facilities so your ammo stays in good shape until you need it. No hidden fees, no minimums, and shipping's free on orders over $250. For me, it's a solid way to keep training ammo stocked up without having to think about it, and it's also great if you have a small budget or just want to build up a stockpile without spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars up front.
Hi, I'm known as the resident Amish autistic kid on the channel, but so if you guys could see that little bulge there that Alyssa was mentioning, that is in fact a weird bulge. Now, as a bulge expert, we had a few theories, right? I should say I had a few theories as to why that particular bulge happened. So one thing to note when you see something wrong with your suppressor is to check the baffles. You can look down the can, obviously, and see if any of the baffles inside there have any nicks or cracks. Interesting enough, was no nicks or damage to any of the baffles in there. I first thought it was a baffle strike due to misalignment in the tri-lug adapter or the QD mount. Whether that was a misalignment with the can or the gun, I kind of blame the gun first because we run this can on the BNT without any issues. And so at first I thought that it might have been non-concentric, meaning it might have been dipped down or a little bit, and the bullet would have presumably struck through many baffles and then hit the end here. But seeing as there was no baffle damage, and also seeing as how this was pretty tight on there, later we did some research. In our research, we found that flat nose ammunition. Well, a lot of self-defense rounds, so hollow points, have issues feeding through MP5s. And we were, in fact, at the time using flat-nosed ammunition. What I think had happened is this particular ammunition has a hard time feeding in and can get jammed or just marred when feeding into the chamber. I think that particular round was damaged when going into the chamber, and when it fired, it presumably exploded, or at least, blew some pieces off of the bullet in the barrel. Those pieces went through the suppressor. A chunk might have hit the end of our can here. That's what I presumed happened because there are no baffle strikes. I do believe that this end cap is potentially a softer material than the baffles inside here. And when we went to go check the can, there was a lot of lead pieces falling out of the can. Luckily, no damage to the can itself. It's still fine and serviceable. We'll get a new end cap here soon. Rugged suppressors, super durable suppressors. Shout out to those guys. I've launched a couple of these on accident and purpose. Yeah, great cans. Would not recommend running flat-nosed ammunition in your MP5. We heard that's a common issue with most MP5s. Yeah, keep your rounds round. So, Autistic Amish out.
Anyway, moving on, talking about some of the features on this gun. We do not have any M-lock on here, but we do have a rail that we mounted. You are also getting the classic MP5 iron sights right out of the box. As far as how it shoots, super fun. Recoil is light, it's easy to stay on target, and even with the shorter barrel, it's plenty accurate at defensive distances. The roller delayed system makes a noticeable difference. The recoil is more of a push than a snap. I do wish we had a stock or a brace on this to give it a better comparison to the other PCCs that I've shot, but even without that, it's soft shooting and just really fun. Now, let's talk reliability. Standard round nose ammo, it ran great. We put about 800 rounds through this gun, and we quickly learned after testing some hollow point and flat nose subsonic rounds that this thing can have some feeding issues. It would fail to cycle cleanly, not only at the end of the mag, but in the middle of it too. We did only run into this issue with flat nose and some hollow point rounds. That said, Zenith let us know that although the gun wasn't really designed to run flat nose rounds, they said that they could potentially tune the gun for specific ammo if that's something you plan on running consistently. So if you're into subs or hollow points for defensive use, that's something to think about, but for regular plinking with round nose, it should chew through that just fine. Customization wise, this thing is a win. It's compatible with a lot of standard MP5 parts, so if you want to swap out the handguard, trigger pack, or stock, you've got plenty of options. You can really just make it your own without having to work around a bunch of proprietary parts. So with all of that said, let's get into our rating system. Okay, and I just want to say, guys, don't take this too seriously. I'm not using this gun to storm buildings. If you're going to get an MP5, you're mainly getting it for fun, so just keep that in mind. So let's start with ergonomics. At first, I put this at a 3, and that's because it's an MP5. And then I thought about it, and then I changed it to a 6, and that's because it's an MP5. Okay, so moving on to features, I put this at a 4. It is fully ambidextrous. We do have, the HK slap, I already talked about that. It does not have a last round hold open, which is a little unfortunate. We did have the option to add a rail onto here, which is awesome. Oh, and like I mentioned, it has the tri-lug and threaded barrel adapters for running suppressed. It does also have the paddle mag release and the notoriously bad AR style mag release. Now the way we have this configured is not how we would keep it. We would put either a stock or a brace on it, so that would come with its own feature sets. Now moving on to quality, we have a 4 for this category. Like I said, it is the best MP5 clone I've gotten my hands on. However, like I mentioned with the safety selector and the mag release and mag well, there are a few things that could just be tuned up and better quality. We've also heard some QC issues that we didn't experience ourselves, but it is important to note things that are happening with other users. Reliability, I put this at a 3.5, and that is mainly because of the flat nose ammo feeding issues that we came across. Apparently that is a thing that is fairly common with MP5s. However, I never heard of it, so I did not know it, but we did not have any issues with any round nose ammo, and we put almost 1,000 rounds through this, a little bit below that. Now our next category is fun. And I put this gun at a 6 in that category. And I put this gun at a 6 in that category because, it's an MP5. It's really fun to shoot. It's really compact. And combining the 9mm with the roller delayed blowback system, It was really soft shooting and just really fun to handle. I would love to put a super safety or an FRT in this gun. Now that is where you'd have a lot of fun with it. And for customization, I put this gun at a 5. Since it is a MP5 clone, it should work with most MP5 parts unless otherwise specified. So just make sure you check with the manufacturer or just go check on Reddit because people like to throw up their opinions and comments and information on there. For versatility, I put this gun at a 4, and that's because I can use this for a fun range toy, home defense, truck gun, and I don't see this gun as a super serious tactical gun. And keep in mind, the MP5 is still widely used to this day and is a very versatile platform. For recoil impulse, I put it at a 4. It has that roller delayed blowback system, which I love, especially with 9mm. It just makes the recoil very soft. And now moving on to the most important category, the looks. And I put this at a 5 because it's an MP5, let's be real. Now what would really bring this to a 6 is if we put that B&T stock on here, the stick mag, a optic, a rail. Now that would be a 6. However, the way it is, solid 5. I'd hit that. Now for price, I put this gun at a 5. This gun is about $1,400, which is a good price compared to the other MP5s on the market. And you actually get some decent quality with that price. And sometimes you can find these for cheaper than that. And keep in mind, that's less than half the cost of the HK MP5. And the last category, company reputation, I put this gun at a 3, and that's because even though we've had great experience with Zenith, there has been some QC issues or things come up lately that we've seen within the community, specifically when they moved their manufacturing to the US. Now, it does seem that Zenith has worked out some of these kinks. However, just keeping in mind some of the QC issues that we've seen in the community, that is why this is a 3. And that brings this gun to a total of 49.5. So at the end of the day, whether you're looking for a home defense option, a range toy, or a truck gun, this checks a lot of boxes. It's compact, fun to shoot, and has that nostalgic cool factor. I'll be honest, when I first got it, I wasn't in love with how it looked. I usually gravitate towards more modern designs, but after spending some time with it, I've started to appreciate the classic look more and more. Overall, I think the 2 words to sum this gun up is nostalgic fun. So if you've been wanting an MP5 but don't want to drop a couple grand or wait forever, the ZF5 is definitely worth a look. Just know what you're getting into, especially with the ammo quirks. And if you've shot one of these guns or another MP5 clone or have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Well, thanks for watching. Check out in the description for more ways to support the channel, and we'll catch you in the next episode.